What is going on, everybody? Happy Saturday. We are here back with another episode of Comic Collector Origins. My name is Justin, aka No Good Comics. Thanks for hanging out. If you guys are just watching the replay, always appreciate that. Make sure you hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that little bell notification so you can be notified of all my live streams and premiere videos. I'm really excited for today. This is my 33rd episode of Comic Collector Origins, and if you are new here or not familiar with the concept of this show, it is where I have a guest from this great comic book community come on with me, and I pick their brain and ask questions about their origin story, meaning how they got into comic books, what got them into reading, into collecting, into going to Comic Cons, what inspired that moment, or what was the first appearance of them getting into a Comic Con and things like that. So I know we always talk about these phrases and these references to comic book superheroes, so I thought it was a really cool concept to kind of flip it and talk to some of the great people that are part of this community. Like I said, this is my 33rd episode now that I've been doing, and my guest today, very special guest that I have known. I'm actually not sure how long I've known Ryan now. It's Ryan from The Magic Lasso over on Instagram. Magic Lasso, you might see him also on YouTube. He has a YouTube channel. I put all his information in the description below. Ryan has been such a great person and a great friend to me in this community, with the support and just being there. I know for when John and I do our Omni X-Men show, and I just see Lasso in every other chat that I jump into on YouTube. So I feel like he's just a big supporter of everybody, and he puts out some really great content as well. And I should say, if you hear me say Lasso, I'm referring to Ryan. I've just gotten so used to calling him Lasso. But let me bring him in right now. Everybody, this is Ryan, Magic Lasso. What's going on, Ryan?
33.
Yes, it's a good number.
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on, Justin. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time.
Heck yeah, man. Absolutely. And likewise, man. I'm really glad that we're able to do this. I appreciate you giving me a little bit of your time.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, man, for sure. I'm digging the T-shirt, by the way.
Thank you.
We'll have to talk a little bit about that and some of your background. Like I said, if you are, whether you're catching the replay or you are watching live right now, make sure you sub up to Ryan down below. I put all the information for his Instagram account and YouTube in the description below. So, Ryan, before we dive into it, I do like to highlight some of the chat. So
yeah, let's do that.
We'll say a quick hello. Had some people hanging out here already. We got 10 people here right now. We got Austin, first and foremost, hanging out with us. What's going on, Austin? He is the Comic Spot over on Instagram, all the way up in Canada. Our friends from Canada, so good to see you, my friend. John's Comics with Kids was just hanging out with him all morning, him and his daughters, as they do their normal morning show. So good to see you as well. Sparks Comics, I just mentioned, I was just over on Sparks' channel literally 20 minutes ago. We were breaking down Hollow Heart, the new issue that came out last month. So great to see you, Sparks, and make sure you guys go check out that replay and sub up Sparks as well. It's a lot of fun. Copy 801, another man who is all over the place, I feel like, supporting everybody and putting out some great content as well. So Copy, good to see you. Sith Lordly and the Spine Tick crew, what's going on, man? Thanks for stopping in. We got Alan, who was a previous guest on this show as well, Climbing Comics, doing a lot of great things on YouTube now as well. So good to see you, Alan. Thanks for stopping in and hanging out. We got Steve representing Team Nerd Herd. Just saw him earlier today over on Sparks' channel as well, hanging out in the chat. Steve, my brother, also another previous person on this panel as well. And then Al Strands, another dude's been everywhere, especially this morning. Al Strands, I feel like we've been hanging out 3 hours now. This is going on our third hour here. It's good to see you, man. Very cool. And let's see, we got Raging Cajun in the house. Was hanging out with Raging last night in a claim sale. Gotta love all these opportunities and experiences with everybody. Hello, Fable. What's going on, Fable? Was just talking to Fable about Hollow Heart as well. So let's see. I think I got everybody. If I missed you, I apologize. We do have Mercy as well, all the way from Sweden. Hello, my friend. Appreciate you always stopping in. Yeah, so I think we're kind of caught up on the chat at the moment. Guys, feel free. If you have questions for Ryan, put it in the chat. I will try to highlight them as we go. And Ryan, feel free to change gears if you see something you want to address
Sure.
or answer as well. Fuchsia, nice to see you as well. Hope you and Soldier are doing well. We got Martin NYC in here. Very cool. So guys, make sure to sub up Magic Lasso, and his information is down below, and hit that thumbs up while you're at it. All right, so first and foremost, Ryan, let's get into the nitty gritty here. Where did it all start for you? How old were you? What was your environment like? And do you recall kind of some of the books you might have been reading or collecting?
Sure. I don't remember a time when comic books weren't in my life. So I wish I could tell you what my very first comic book was. I don't know. I know that I had titles like Justice League, Super Friends, that comes to mind. I had those for sure. I grew up very small town, Midwest, Wisconsin. And I mean, my hometown is so small, there is no fast food. There are no stoplights. So there's definitely not a comic book store. But actually, there were two places in this town of 1,000, population of 1,000, that sold comic books. One was the local drugstore, and the other was the supermarket. And each Tuesday, I would go down to the drugstore and spin that spinner rack and see what I could get. At the same time, I should mention that superheroes were actually everywhere in my life. There were products. They were on sandals. They were on shirts. There were color forms. There were board games. They were anything that you could imagine that you could. Shrinky Dinks. You put a superhero on Presto Magic. You put a superhero on anything that you could. Superheroes were on it. And I was really influenced by that. We also had a fair amount for the time of superheroes represented on TV. The Super Friends cartoon was very influential for me.
Okay.
I think that, and I do remember a little bit of the Linda Carter Wonder Woman TV show. I want to say those are the two places that I first knew of Wonder Woman.
Yep.
And I didn't even know she had her own comic book. I would see her in Super Friends and my Justice League comic books. And I actually remember the day I said to my parents, "Oh, I love Wonder Woman. I wish she had her own book." And they said, "Well, she does." And mind blown.
That's a big one.
I had no idea.
Right.
And it took a few weeks before the next issue came out, but I found it, or they found it for me on a spinner rack and brought it back to me. So, and that was, ever since that moment, I was hooked. That's I don't know if I had a great talk with my friend Comics for Thomas, and I'm like, I don't know if I chose the character or if the character chose me.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah.
So I kind of feel like the character chose me for whatever reason. And jumping back to that Linda Carter TV show, I do remember that I would watch that show on Friday nights on CBS. And when it was done, I would go into my room and I'd get on my knees and I put my elbows on the bed and I say, "Lord, I just want to meet Wonder Woman. I want to meet Wonder Woman." And later when I got the concept that Linda Carter and Wonder Woman are two different, well, Linda Carter is a person.
Right.
I want to meet Linda Carter, and I had forgotten about that. And all of a sudden, we fast forward to like 2008. I am backstage at a Linda Carter concert.
Oh, wow.
And I see her. She's like 3 or 4 people away. We're in the meet and greet line.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I hadn't thought of this in decades. Me on my knees praying to meet Linda Carter came into my mind. And I told her that. And she stopped. And she put her arms around me.
Oh, no
and
way.
The hug. And there's even photographic proof of the hug. And we just had the best visit. And she was so kind to me. And then, you fast forward a few more years. One year she called me and sang happy birthday to me.
Oh, my gosh. Wow. How did that work out?
Well, at that time, I had a 3-decade career. Believe it or not, I actually started when I was in my teens because I'm still in my 40s now. But I had a 3-decade career in country radio. Oh, cool. And it used to be each year that some surprise guest would call me on my birthday on the air and sing happy birthday to me and surprise me. And one year it was Linda Carter.
That's so wild.
Yeah.
Does she know like how much she means to you? Like, have you ever had that opportunity to really explain?
Yeah, I think she does.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like you can say my name to her and she goes, "Oh, Ryan, I know who he is." It's not really, I mean, we're not like this. We're more like this.
Right. So, hey, at least you're on the same hand. That's all right.
That's right. So,
that is so cool.
It was an amazing experience. And I'll tell you one thing too about meeting Linda Carter.
Yeah.
She is not what I thought she would be like in person.
Okay.
she's better.
Oh, nice. That's
Yeah.
that's always a relief to hear. I mean, especially when you're meeting, that person that you looked up to or you wanted to meet, it can put such a sour taste in your mouth if they end up being somebody who's, much worse. So it's nice to hear that she's somebody that really stood out to you and was a good person, or was nice to you.
Yeah. I see Sif Lordley's comment about working in radio promotion. I was also the music director for the radio station, and we were a reporting station. So very well, you and I might have crossed paths in a previous life.
That is so cool.
We need to talk. So
small world, man.
Yeah.
So
I didn't know that.
One thing that stands out to me, has always stood out to me since I've been starting to watch your videos, is your voice. And I feel like you have such a unique, a radio type voice that would be good for an on-air type thing.
Thank you.
So, whenever I write a book, whenever I end up writing a book, I might hire you to do the audio.
Do the audio for it. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you though. To me, it's just talking, I don't think that the only thing that I think that I do different than anybody else that has never worked in radio is the letter W.
Oh,
most people say W. Like dub U.
Yeah, it's like
W.
You accent everything. Yeah.
Yes. And that gets drilled into you when you're working for a W station.
Sure, yeah.
So
I read that all the time. That's interesting. Yeah. I'm gonna pay attention to that next time I hear something like that.
Yeah.
We got Nigel in the house, Desired Comics, hello, and Unruly came in here before as well.
Oh, hi.
I hate to paint it. Let's see. See some people in the chat. Martin is asking what type of country, like pop, outlaw country, Americana.
It was mostly modern and current country. However, we had a massive variety of music in our playlist, which meant that we went back and would spotlight music from the legends too. Like while we're playing, Lady Antebellum and Tim McGraw and Garth Brooks and Kenny Chesney and Carrie Underwood and those artists, Eric Church, we're also sporadically throwing in people like Eddie Rabbitt and Tanya Tucker and Glenn Campbell and Johnny Cash and those. So
nice, very nice. Yeah. So I was brainwashed as a kid to liking country music, so I'm very familiar with all the names that you've been mentioning, and I love country music. But all thanks to my mom who wouldn't let me listen to it. I didn't know anything else existed up until I was like 10 years old, and I took a ride in my uncle's truck. Who was playing some rock and roll, and I just had no idea that was a thing. Oh no, he was playing like Blink-182 actually, or something like that. Where I'm just like, whoa, like this is totally different than what music is to me. So definitely a country fan now. Yeah,
but jumping back to you, just real quickly too, before we leave that original question, but growing up in such a small town, for up until 6th grade, I had a best friend that liked comic books as well. So I had somebody to share that with, and he would get his books at the grocery store, I would get mine at the drugstore, so there was no competition for the same book. Then he moved away, and I've never seen him since. So,
no.
Yeah, and he's kind of off the grids social media wise. So his sister is, but he's off. And that's always been a void that I didn't have. I've never had the experience that a lot of you guys have, where every week you go on Wednesday to the comic book store and buy your new books. Now, I've been to a comic book store on a Wednesday, but not on a consistent weekly basis. Sure. Because for me growing up, the comic book store was an hour away. Mm-hmm. And, when you can't drive, that doesn't. And plus, I also found too, when I went to the comic book store, I wanted to buy the back issues. Mm-hmm. So, because I was like, I can get those new issues, even though he has them in his store 3 weeks before they show up at the drugstore.
Right.
I can't get these back issues. I want those back issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Did you ever think that comics would be where they are today in terms of popularity and speculation and just the whole market that it is today?
No, never thought that. The fact that we have movies and media that are actually portraying comics very well. And that's not to say that we didn't have some good representations before. You look at the first 2 Christopher Reeve Superman movies. Those are very well done.
Totally.
Then we have, a couple bad Christopher Reeve movies too, So same with Batman, we got a good few here and there.
Sure.
But no, I never thought that. I never thought that you would have more than one cover for a comic book. I never thought that a store would have an exclusive comic book cover that you can't buy anywhere else.
Right.
And if they did, well, certainly it still would be cover price, wouldn't it?
Right. Not the case.
No clue at all. It's neat in a way, but I consider myself a completionist, so that's a little frustrating too financially.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yeah. Especially, I've seen this conversation and been part of it many times. So, especially someone like yourself who is a completionist and trying to, get each issue is harder and harder. It seems like, especially with shows coming out and speculation and things like that. I wanted to ask you, so you had a friend growing up that you were able to really talk to and connect with about the book that you were reading. When was the next time that you really were able to have? Actually, a better question: did you know that the current comic book community? Let me think. When did you first start Instagram? I should say that. When did you get on like social media for the reasons of comic books?
Okay, I've been on Instagram for 14 months, so not very long at all.
Wow.
And the reason that I had the YouTube channel first before I had the Instagram.
Right. Okay.
And then I just realized that if you want to communicate with people, it seemed that in the YouTube comic book community, it seemed like Instagram was the way that you could.
Right.
And I actually joined Instagram against my will. I didn't want to. I was so burnt out from having to post so much stuff for work, for social media, that I was so social media burnout. Yeah. And it's funny, the social media platform that I didn't want to join, which was Instagram, is the one that turned out to be my favorite.
Oh, wow.
So, and I find myself on there more and more. And I originally joined, though, because someone was going to sell a mystery box, and the only way to get it was through Instagram.
Okay.
So that's how I did it. But I had no idea that this YouTube community even existed until, I don't know, 2.5 or 3 years ago. And then I spent, and I found it because I was thinking about a comic book mystery box. And I thought, I wonder, all of a sudden one day, I never even occurred to me to think, I wonder if there's any unboxings of those on YouTube. I know people did unboxings on YouTube. I'm like, I wonder if anyone did that. So that dug me down this rabbit hole.
Right.
And then, it was good 6-7 months of me thinking, should I do a channel? Should I not? Should I?
Right.
What if everybody's mean?
Sure.
What? And then, but I mean, you see the interactions and the friendships, but at the same time too, you have to think, well, are they going to be welcoming to a new person?
Sure.
And I've quickly found out the answer is yes.
Yeah.
There is room for everyone in our YouTube comic book community. Even if you're new, there's room for you, and there's friendships you can make.
Absolutely agree. And I'm glad that you bring that up, because it's definitely something that, I've talked to people who are still on the fence of creating a channel or even just watching more YouTube in general and being part of discussions like this or other hangouts, things like that. And some people just live on Instagram. I started out that way of where I was only on Instagram. I didn't use YouTube in the way of, finding, even looking up unboxings or anything like that. I didn't use it for any of that.
So what pushed you? What pushed you to start the channel?
I think it was more of I think partially people that were on Instagram would start to like say, hey, I did a video and it's over here. Like I would just start to see that, once I started meeting the community over on Instagram, I would start to see that crossover. And I think I did use it as when I started wanting to just educate myself more on different aspects of this hobby. That was a big part where I started to like use YouTube to research and getting an understanding of like, how do people, price their stuff? What is CGC all about? How do you learn to grade? What is pressing? Like all this different stuff. And I would stumble across guys like Reggie Collects, and Gem Mint, and just some of the bigger, the big names that are out there that would put out helpful content, that was just talking to me and giving me the answers that I wanted or that I was looking for. So that's kind of how I stumbled into that aspect of it. So I think it's a little bit of both. But I was just an Instagram guy, and I find it interesting that now it's like become your favorite, of the platform. So I'm glad that you're on it. I'm glad that you made that jump.
I am too. It's benefited me a lot.
Yeah. A couple things in the chat here. First, Fable was talking about earlier when you said he had no LCSs close to him. This community is how he gets to talk about comics, the comic book hobby.
I had a great conversation with Fable just a couple nights ago too, and I just love this connection that I've made in this community. And, you know, once this pandemic is over with and things start to return to normal, I can't wait to start meeting some people in person.
Absolutely. It is going to be insane. I've been talking to some people about that where it's like, we are, so I used to be part of the Magic the Gathering like community, and they have, you know, it's very similar. There's a lot of people that just know everybody and you hang out all the time. We would go to these convention centers and have these big tournaments and stuff like that. And afterwards, like there'd be these huge like dinner parties and hangouts and meeting up at bars and things like that. So in many ways, I know it's going to be very similar. When we all go to a Comic-Con, you know, if we all meet up at like C2E2, one, we're all going to hang out while we're there. And then two, we're all going to want to meet up after for drinks or for dinner. And there's going to be like 30 of us, like a party for 30, you know, and the waiter or waitress is just me, like, it's going to be insane. It's going to be so much fun. So I'm totally with you there. It's going to really, you know, we've gotten to know everybody so well now over the past, year or 2-3 years. So it's been incredible. I wanted to highlight here too, Copy was saying being a completionist is tough. There's two types: collecting all the issues in a run and collecting all the issues and covers in a run. The former is much easier than the latter. Yeah, you know, I never actually considered that as a completionist, especially for newer books. You know, do you collect all of them? Do you just get everything, or just the, you know, cover A?
Well, I mean, you look even recently, and I'm picking a title that you wouldn't necessarily think of. Maybe for my point, like the Eternals, Marvel just relaunched Eternals with #1 recently, and they did 40+ covers for it.
Yeah.
40+ for Eternals. Now, if it was Batman, I get it. Of course, if it was Batman, it would be 100+ covers, you know?
Right.
But even Eternals, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's like 40 is the new low number.
Yeah.
Batman's gonna hit the triple. It is crazy. And so, you know, to your point and what Copy's saying, you know, if you are trying to collect everything, you're gonna pay a pretty penny. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Unruly here was also saying in the 70s there was a dozen stores with spinner racks near me. In the 80s there were 2 decent LCSs in Savannah. Now I order new comics from Midtown. Yeah. I mean,
my LCS or what I consider my LCS, I don't know how it is in the LCS because it's a pretty good haul to get there. But it's actually a store I think a lot of you guys might have heard of because they've advertised nationally since the 1980s in comic books. But have you ever heard of Westfield Comics?
Westfield Comics. I can't say I have.
Yeah. They're based in Madison, Wisconsin, and that is my LCS. And I have to tell you, I have to really brag on these guys. #1 for their professionalism. And you never hear them say a word about someone who just walked out of the store. Never. They always have books. They're always in great shape. You know, the stuff that I hear people talking about where, oh, my LCS said they'd get it for me and then they didn't, or they didn't order any of this. They have everything.
Yeah.
I've been so spoiled by them.
It's
I'm
great.
So fortunate. And because I've heard the nightmare stories that other collectors have talked about trying to obtain sometimes just a regular issue in a run. And I've never gone through that. Yeah,
no, it's a good point. And you know, just think about now how far we've come, you know, to as you're telling us this story of how you started out and just buying off a spinner rack. And if it was a far drive, then you wouldn't be able to go for a while, you know, and now you're able to get a whole box worth and ship to you or however, you know, however you get them to your house. Like you're just so much more convenient to, or even have them hold stuff for you. It's just,
I would write a letter to a comic book store, you know, a couple hours away. And I'd say, you know, dear comic books, I didn't write it. I was actually writing. I was a dear comic book store. Do you have Teen Titans Volume 1 issue number, blah, 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 blah. And then they would turn around and write me back and say, yep, we have such and such. It's this amount of money. It's this. Then I'd say, okay, here. Then I write them back with my money order. Okay, I want that one. And then they'd send it.
Yep.
That's how I used to do it as a kid.
Yeah. No, it's wild. It's wild. What's up, Hyper? Saying he's Magic Lasso is a good dude and a friend of our channel. Very
I like Hyper. He's a good guy.
He is very good. Thanks for stopping in, Hyper. And who I just highlighted someone. Oh, Ruben. Ruben's in the house.
Oh, yeah, well. Ruben. Muabunga, Ruben.
Good to see you, man. So what? I'm trying to think so what was your first experience with going to a Comic-Con? I know we mentioned a little bit about Comic-Cons. Were you going to these as a kid, or was this more recently that you started, attending?
It was more recently. It was definitely in my adult life. In my youth, there just was nothing to go to. That wasn't around. And before I started going to like a big official Comic-Con, I went to what I consider a comic show. And to me, there's a difference between a comic show and a Comic-Con. A comic show is like a bunch of vendors setting up in the VFW banquet hall for the afternoon selling books. And I would go there and I'd flip through and find some stuff. And then I got to go to Wizard World in Chicago was my first Comic-Con experience.
That's a big one, right?
Yeah. Even back then, with their celebrity guests, that was different. It's not like it is now where you just buy your way in. Back then, if there was a huge actor or actress or something, well, the first 200 people in line get to meet them and get an autograph for free. That's how they did it back then. And it was much more chaotic and much more panicky.
Right.
I do kind of like how it's kind of shifted now, even though it's all about the money and it shouldn't be. But at the same time, too, it isn't as chaotic as it used to be.
Sure.
And now I've gone to my favorite is C2E2, which I've been to 3 or 4 times. I didn't make the last C2E2, but I went like the 3 or 4 times prior to that. And that has just been such an amazing experience. And like I said, what I'm looking forward to now is going to a con, and I would travel to one now anywhere.
Totally.
But my experience, how that will change in the future is instead of just wanting to absorb everything about the con and the vendors and the panels and stuff, now my primary focus, as I said before, will be getting to spend face-to-face time with whoever I've become friends with in the community that's at that show.
Right. Yeah, it definitely adds this new level now to your experience and what you can gain out of just going. I totally agree. And I'm definitely traveling, once everything really opens up again and is safe. I plan to go, I would love to go to C2E2, would love to go San Diego at some point. Never been to that one. Obviously New York is a big one I've been to before. Baltimore Comic-Con's a really good one. I hope a lot of people go to that too. I'll be down there for that whenever that happens. But that'll be so cool. Yeah. To meet up. And as you're saying, I really do. I just picture this being this massive party and we're all going to walk around in like these large groups, and even vendors, I feel like we're going to know some vendors. I mean, I shop with a lot of them from Instagram or even some on like YouTube or Facebook that have opened up their own little, live show where they do claim sales or they do auctions. And, I know a lot of them used to set up at these shows and now they can't because there's no shows. So, they had to figure out new ways to sell their books. And so I think it's really interesting. I mean, this pandemic has definitely transformed a lot of how we do things, in the comic hobby and also just obviously in the world. But hopefully, we're all growing in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly.
Steve's saying, Justin, you're in San Diego Comic-Con. It's on. Yeah, well, once they have it on, I'll be down for sure. Mercy says, the chat just jumped on me. Come visit me and we can go to a really small Comic-Con over in Sweden. Yeah, they don't get too many of the big ones over there. So very cool. Yeah, I'd love to hear kind of the experiences that you've had, especially when you first started going. And I'm always curious, how far back certain people have gone. Because for me, I was going to Comic-Cons when I was young, but I didn't really appreciate anything that I was around because, I just didn't care as much as my dad was working. And, I was like, just, when we do other things. But
one of the coolest things back then, there was no internet back then. And there were many times that I didn't even know what a comic book cover looked like until I stumbled upon it at a store. Or sometimes I would know from reading the Overstreet price guide. Well, this issue is a key because it's the first appearance of whoever, but I didn't know what the cover looked like. And sometimes I'd order it blind and then all of a sudden you open up the mail and I'm like, oh, wow, look at that cover, and I still see these covers and those feelings hit me like that. I can remember that.
Absolutely. That's awesome. I wanted to say a quick hello to Ronnie here, Collector's News. Hello. So let's talk a little bit about some books. So first and foremost, right now, as someone in this hobby, what are you currently reading? Are you reading some new books, some old books? Do you have a list or anything that you recommend?
I don't buy a lot of currents right now.
Okay.
It's not because I don't enjoy them. I'm always interested in what's going on with pretty much the full run of Marvel and DC characters.
Mhm.
But as for what's on my pull list right now, obviously Wonder Woman's going to be on my pull list, and this is the current issue, 770. Which,
Nice.
by the way, since I'm showing this issue, I want to also give a shout out that there is a really cool B cover, which is a wraparound.
Oh, I didn't realize it was a wraparound. I've seen
it's a
that out there.
wraparound.
That is cool.
So,
Oh, great. Now
and then also I'm picking up Sensational Wonder Woman, which just started.
Oh yeah, okay.
I saw that. You're getting some glare.
Yeah, very nice.
And the B cover for that I actually like better than the A cover.
Is that art germ or?
I don't think so.
No, okay. It's almost his style.
Yeah, it looks like that. I don't think so. So those are the only two that are on my regular pull list.
Okay.
I'll probably put in Wonder Girl, the Yara Flor series, but I don't think I'm going to get every single cover for that. I think I'll be a completionist in the first part, as Copy was talking about before.
Sure.
And then they just announced yesterday that we're getting a Wonder Woman Black and Gold limited series this year. This is the 80th anniversary this year of Wonder Woman. So we're getting a lot of special Wonder Woman projects.
Nice.
In celebration for that. But I also buy select True Believers and facsimiles that have come out. But the rest of my money I divert into back issues. I'm a huge Bronze Age fan.
Okay.
There probably is not a Bronze Age comic book that you can put in front of me that I would not enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. And I start looking at that and I see things like the Champions were always my favorite.
Nice.
They're kind of like, and
I love that cover too.
This was the last issue. This was the last issue of the run, and this run had just started getting really good, and the book got canceled.
Yeah.
After X-Men, I'm really into the Champions. Of course, there's two X-Men as part of the Champions, Iceman and Angel. So
nice.
I love that. While we're talking Marvel, Ms. Marvel.
Oh yes.
And this costume, that lightning bolt costume, that's the one I like. I mean, the other one's okay. Right. But this costume is my jam.
Yep. Love that.
And my collection, here's a book that I bought when I was a little kid as a back issue. I knew I bought it for the key reason that it is. And look at how lucky I am now to have this book in my collection.
Oh, man. Oh, I want that book.
First Black Widow, for those who aren't aware.
Yes, absolutely. That is beautiful. Nice looking copy. The colors look nice.
Yeah.
You just recently acquired that, or is that?
No, I bought that when I was a little kid as a back issue. I mean, I'm not that old that this was a current issue at the time. Right. But I remember knowing that this was the first appearance of Black Widow, and I don't even remember where I got it at, but I know I certainly didn't pay more than $3 or $4 for it.
My goodness. Whew. That is a beauty.
I knew that you would want to see some X-Men.
Yes.
So I did pull a couple X-Men. I want to say, I feel pretty confident in saying that the first X-Men book that I ever owned was this.
Oh my gosh. Yes. It's one of my favorites. It's hard to say my favorite because there's just so many of my favorites, but that is definitely a top 5 for me, a top 3 maybe even for X-Men, especially the Claremont stuff.
So I have this book, which is the beginning of the Dark Phoenix saga.
Yep.
And then I also had, I think I didn't have anything else until it came to this one.
Oh yeah, okay.
So at this point, we're almost at the conclusion.
Yeah, towards the end, yeah.
Yeah, we're at 136 with this issue.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I do remember just reading this issue over and over. And I only knew Jean Grey essentially from what parts of issue 129 she was in.
Right.
And I knew she was in big trouble.
Yeah.
I don't know who this woman is, but she is in big trouble. And I was so fascinated with that. Yeah. And then this next book, man, I can distinctly remember this. I was home sick from school on a Tuesday, and I don't know, I must have had the flu really bad or something. I just remember feeling really sick.
Right.
And my mom told my dad, she said, go down to the drugstore and just buy him some comic books.
Right.
And this is one he came back with.
Sorry, trying to switch you here. There you go. Oh,
X-Men
nice one.
140.
It's when she joins, right?
Yeah, where Kitty Pryde joins. And the one thing I remember thinking, I went through this issue and I thought, I got to see what happens to that lady. You know, that lady, what happened to that lady? And that lady wasn't in this issue.
Right.
And I'm like,
That's a great one.
Yeah. So switching over to the DC side of things, when I think of some books, man, I love Crisis.
Yeah, that's
every DC character was in there, and to me, this is one of the pinnacle issues of Crisis. This is number 7. I know this is the book that Copy is looking for. Copy 801. This is on his wish list.
There you go.
He's a huge Supergirl fan, so oh man! But George Perez and the way he draws and the detail he puts in this series, because you flip the page and you never knew who was going to be on the next page somewhere, even if it's just in the background.
Yep,
that was amazing.
That is awesome.
This is another book that, since I mentioned Supergirl, a lot of memories flood back for me on this cover.
Oh yeah.
You know, I love the Brave and the Bold with Batman teaming up with some heroes that necessarily, you know, didn't have a long-standing title. Like Supergirl, I think at this point was in between publishing. She probably was just in Superman Family, and that was it. For a monthly book. But stuff like this, I just loved.
It's a cool cover.
And then as we get into, adulthood, I wanted to definitely have something that represented a little more modern feel to show you. And I thought, well, when I saw this cover, I thought, well, this is the Catwoman 80th anniversary, the J. Scott. And I'm like, well, wow, that's pretty amazing. And then I saw on his website, he had an exclusive. And I had to get that too.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah, I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
But the fact is, you see that golden cat behind her.
Yep. In
that image. I was too young for the original run of the Batman TV show, but I had a Viewmaster that had of the Adam West Batman, and it was the Catwoman episode with those golden cats in.
Right.
So I was aware of this episode, although I had never seen it.
Yeah.
We went to Milwaukee to visit some relatives when I was a little kid, and I remember them telling me, they said, well, Batman reruns on TV in Milwaukee because it didn't in my area. And I thought, I want to make sure I see it. And when I sat down, it was that episode that they played. The one I had the Viewmaster for, the one I wanted to see more than anything else was the one that played.
That's great. That's cool. So cool. Man, I love it, man. So you've definitely, I love the collection. I love that you're all over the place in terms of era and time. And I was curious about like your experience or your history with your fandom for X-Men, because you've been, joining us almost every week, for the Omni X-Men. And I know you're a really big Wonder Woman fan. So I was always curious, like where your heart was with X-Men and how into it you actually were.
Yeah, very much into X-Men. I want to say that with X-Men, you can go up to right about 200 with me, from issue 1 to 200, and I'm fully engaged and fully invested in everything. After 200, it starts getting a little iffy for me, but in all fairness, I haven't reread those stories in quite some time. So when we get to that point in the Omni X-Men, I'm not going to abandon ship with you guys. I'm going to stick with it. So
I was just going to ask. Yeah, I was just going to ask. You going to leave us, Lasso?
No, I can't leave you. You guys you do such a good job on that show, and I enjoy it so much.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, but I think people would be disappointed if I didn't show a few Wonder Woman books. So I pulled some of those as well. For the longest time, this was my oldest Wonder Woman that I bought as a kid as a back issue. It was issue number 205 with,
I recognize that,
with a big bondage cover there.
Yeah.
And maybe some other subliminal things in the artwork for that.
Sure.
But I would set goals even when I was a kid. And I remember a goal I had was, as crazy as this sounds, I thought I need to have a Wonder Woman book where she doesn't have the boots, but she has the sandals. And I ended up getting,
What number is that? Oh, it's a 12 center.
This one is 130. I'm sorry, 129. Yeah,
Nice.
129. So,
very cool.
Yeah, and as a child, I did not have an appreciation for the non-powered years where Diana Prince didn't wear a costume and she didn't have powers, and this is the issue where that happened at.
Wow.
But rereading those as an adult gained me the stories are so good. They're Denny O'Neil stories, and they're so good, and I love them.
I almost bought this recently as a cover buy, the book that you're holding here. I
Oh,
saw
really?
someone on Instagram. I was very intrigued by it. I really like the artwork on it. I ended up not getting it, but maybe one day. What number is that there?
179.
179. Very nice.
Yeah. But in my heart of hearts, when it comes to Wonder Woman, what is always going to get me is the Bronze Age era. It's books like this. Which incidentally, the German reprint of this, which I have thanks to VV, the little girl is photoshopped out.
Oh wow!
So it just kind of looks like Wonder Woman is jumping into the mouth of a monster for funsies.
Just to give it a whirl,
Yeah, it's covers like this.
Yeah.
This is where my heart is at. Here's a nice Whitman variant.
John says Wonder Woman without powers is like Wolverine without hair.
Yes, I agree. And here's another one that I pull. I want to pull some stuff I hadn't shown in other live streams too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But these are ones that just touch my heart and my soul. That Jose
Can you go back to the other one real quick?
Oh yeah.
The one before that, I think I've seen that one before. It's beautiful artwork. What issue is that?
Well, that
is this all
264. Although you see, it's a Whitman variant, so you don't get the issue number on there on the cover.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's 264.
I always wondered that. I didn't realize that.
Yep.
Yeah, those are beautiful.
And I do remember buying those Whitman 3-packs in stores. I remember going to stores. I remember going to a Kmart once, and they had literally probably a 8-foot long peg of nothing but those 3-pack comic book bags, and it was filled to the brim.
Right.
It was heaven.
Yeah.
And you stop and think about this. I'm pretty sure I'm correct in saying that there were some Hulk 181s that ended up in 3-packs.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that there were.
Jeez. Whip out the Sensation comics.
I left Sensation in the other room. I was gonna snag that, but left it in the other room.
Later, Steve. Thanks for stopping in, man.
Yeah.
I saw Mastodon here earlier. Want to say hello. Hello.
Cool.
Appreciate that. Yeah, guys, make sure you hit that thumbs up. Make sure you are subscribed to Ryan, and his information is in the description in case you're just joining us.
And while you have me big for a second,
sure.
I mean, this kind of needs to be acknowledged.
Oh yeah, that is beautiful.
Yeah, your dad drew it.
That is my dad. Oh my gosh. Wait, what is this from? What is this?
This is a trade paperback. It collects some Justice League stories.
Oh, okay. That's
that your dad worked on. But yeah, that is your dad's artwork. He can draw himself a good Wonder Woman. Dad, you get a thumbs up.
Good. I was just thinking, good thing I didn't bash it there.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're like, yeah, I've seen better.
Yeah. That's hilarious. That's awesome. Very cool. Thanks for sharing that.
I actually went through my CLZ. I love that stream that you and your dad did so much.
Oh, thank you.
I just loved it. I hate that I missed it live, but even in the rewind, it felt so engaging. And when it got done, I opened up my CLZ to see, well, how many books that your dad worked on do I have in my collection? And I think it was 30 or 31.
Whoa. Okay.
So, yeah.
Nice. It's crazy because I'm still like, I mean, people are still showing me work of his that I just didn't even realize that he did or worked on, or, I just haven't, there was a time where I was really digging through and trying to like look up like all the different work that he was doing. And still there's just so much that I haven't seen and haven't read yet either. That will be at some point something I do, because I feel like that'll be a special time, a special moment for me.
Yeah, I distinctly remember the Avengers books that he did and how much I enjoyed them even when they were brand new. I remember buying them off the spinner rack and enjoying those a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. John said, okay, so now that I've seen that, I know exactly what sort of permission I need from your dad. There you go. Very cool. Very cool. So last one, I always like to ask my guests, what is you have this collection, and the collection continues to grow. But what is like the big goal or the end all be all when it comes to this hobby? What's going to happen to your books as you get older? Do you plan to sell them? Do you plan to pass them down to family members? Do you plan to take them to the grave with you? Have you thought that far yet? Kind of what do you expect?
Not a whole lot. I don't expect to sell them. I would be shocked if that happened. I'm an only child. I don't have brothers and sisters. So I don't have,
Yeah. I'm
single right now. So that's not from lack of trying. Just throwing that out there. So that's, I don't know what's going to happen. My goal is, I have some collecting goals. That's right, John. I have some collecting goals right now, and I'm so close to, I actually achieved a childhood one last year, and I'm so close to achieving my next one. Oh, and nice. When I was a kid, I wanted to have Wonder Woman Volume 1, issue 106 on up. And the reason I chose 106 was I knew from reading Overstreet that 105 was scarce. So I thought, well, I'm never going to find it. And if I do, I'm never going to be able to afford it. Yeah. So last year, I actually achieved the goal of getting 106 on up. Oh, wow. So that was cool. But what happened prior to last year, I actually got a 105. Oh, I never thought I would. I did. Yeah. And so I went, ooh, well, what do I do now? And I thought, well, 98 starts the Silver Age for Wonder Woman. And 98's a very key, expensive book. It's probably the 4th biggest Wonder Woman book overall. And I thought, well, I'll start saving for 98 and then I'll fill in. Right. Well, last year, Man Cave AOK'd me a Wonder Woman 98.
Oh my gosh.
Tears.
Yeah.
Tears.
Was this recorded?
It was recorded, but I wasn't showing my face at that time, but trust me, you can hear it in my voice.
Yeah. That's incredible.
So right now I'm only 3 issues away from having 98 all the way on up.
Wow.
Of the Wonder Woman title.
That's insane.
So I'm 3 away.
Congrats. That's awesome. That's really who was it that AOK'd it to you?
A Man Cave Comics.
Okay.
So, and that video is on my channel. So
very cool. I might have to check that out. That's a special
That's right.
moment.
I'm living forever.
There you go. Super nice. Regis says, yeah, very cool. Well, I want to ask you a question about when it comes to maybe someone newer that's just approaching this hobby for the first time. I always like to ask my guests, talking a little bit about, I think that even now for where I'm at with this hobby, it's still very intimidating. There is still a lot that to take in and so much to know, and obviously just can't know it all. But if you were to talk to someone that's considering getting into this hobby for the first time, whether it's for the reading purposes or the collecting purposes or the community purposes, what would one piece of advice be for them? And you could be as general or specific as you'd like.
My piece of advice is a 2-parter. So, and the second part of the 2-parter is starting backwards is always chip away at big characters too. If Superman's your deal and you go, I'm never going to be able to afford Action Comics #1, you never know what might happen. Always chip away. Find a big character that you love, continually chip away at that, and just set goals. Say, I'm going to get everything from issue 500 on up. And then when you do that, say 400 on up. Just keep chipping away the best you can. Yeah. And while you're doing that on a big character, have some smaller characters that you like, that you enjoy, and start chipping away at their appearances too. When I was younger, in addition to buying Wonder Woman, I was trying to chip away at She-Hulk appearances.
Oh, nice.
And and I did that. So, and that was an easy one. She didn't have that many appearances or books, especially at that time. She was a newer character, but she was a character I enjoyed. Yeah. And the number one thing really ties back to something I talked about earlier, so I'm not going to dwell on it too much. Make a friend to share this with, because as good as the books are, and the books are good, the friendship and the people are better. Trust me.
Wow. I love that. I absolutely love that. It's so true, man. Wow. I haven't had anyone really mention that as a piece of advice. So that's really
Yeah.
special.
If you don't make a friendship, you've done yourself a disservice.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I've talked about this before, where it's just like the hobby to me became even more, just so much better when I started to talk to other people about it and really, just sharing my opinion on a book, or asking what should I read next, or talking about the movies and the cartoons and other things that have to that relate to this stuff. That is so on point. And I've talked to some people recently, and I won't mention names, but some people who have kind of ducked out of the community lately, and I think some of it has to do with certain things that are going on within the markets right now, and how things are skyrocketing and things like that. And they've kind of given up on, I guess, just wanting to be part of it. And my response to them was that I just wanted to remind them that while there are perhaps certain people that may be in this hobby for reasons we don't agree with, there are just so many great people in this hobby as well.
Oh, absolutely.
And that to me is what keeps, I said, even if it's one person, that's what I want to continue to have. I wouldn't want to just do this on my own. I wouldn't want to just especially now that I've gotten a taste of having the friendship and sharing the passion with other readers and other collectors. It's so powerful. So I love that advice, Ryan. I really do.
I truly mean that. It's changed my life, and for the better. And as crazy as this world is at times, and when you really feel like you don't want to trust people, to find a place where there's good-hearted people. And all I want in my life is to be surrounded by good people. And I have really found that. I've found that, and I feel welcomed here in this community. I don't feel that they're putting up with me. Well, maybe sometimes, but I really feel that there's a genuine excitement still when I come into a chat somewhere. People are happy that I'm there, and that means as much to me as anything. It's.
Yep. I think you are spot on, man. And it's so true.
And I like talking to people too, that you would think, well, he probably only talks to Wonder Woman collectors. Quite honestly, I don't. Most of my YouTube comic book friends aren't like Wonder Woman collectors. There's some that buy it and appreciate it, but you take someone like VV. I'm not so much into Conan, but he's such a good friend. But it's so good to talk to someone who has a focused goal on their collecting.
Yeah.
And actually it works out better, because I find him Conan books. Yeah. They're perfect for him, not my collection. He finds Wonder Woman stuff that's perfect for me and not his collection. It works out really well.
Yep. It's a good, no, it fits perfect. It's a great point. Yeah. You don't need to necessarily be on the same character or the same, titles or whatever, to enjoy this. No, I love that. I absolutely love that. And I think that that's one of the things I try to tell newer people in general, is just like, hey, just so you are aware, there is a community that comes with this hobby, and that's what's really worth exploring. That's what's worth, taking time to get to know others. Even if you don't feel comfortable being on camera or making a channel, even just to be there in chat, or to create an account on Instagram and talk to people. There's so many different ways, so many different avenues that you can go to really make connections.
A great example is something that, and I haven't spoken to you about this, but I shared something with you recently that you don't even know about. It's the fact that you just got yourself an amazing book for your collection.
Yeah.
And do you know how happy I was for you that you got that?
Yeah.
I get that excitement for you, because I know what that feels like, and I know what that means to you. Right. And to know that you have that brought me joy.
Yeah. I could feel that in your comment.
I feel.
Yeah. No, I
feel verklempt.
No, I totally felt that, man. And it's, and you're right. It's an experience that I have not had too many, opportunities to feel that way about a book, or, being able to obtain something, a goal or something like that. So if anyone gets that opportunity, cherish it, because it is a special moment. And as you're saying, to see other people, to recognize that in other people, you know how happy they are and just how powerful.
Absolutely zero twinge of jealousy. I'd love one too. Don't get me wrong. I would love one.
Right.
But no twinge of jealousy that you have one and I don't. Nor do I feel competitive that, well, I have to get one.
No,
nothing. Right. But let me ask you something really quickly related to that. So now that you have that, how long did it take before? And I think our comic book friends are going to understand this question. How long did it take before you went, okay, what's next?
So
and keep in mind, when you say what's next, it doesn't mean that you don't appreciate what you just did.
Right. No, you're right. And it's definitely been something on my mind where it's crossed where I'm okay, I can take this off my list. I did for the first time this year create an actual goals list, which I've never really done. I've always seen people share it on Instagram. They have X's out of the ones that they've collected for that year, particularly. I've never actually done that. I've always generally known what I've wanted, and I actually do have some books written down as like in a note on my phone, just as like I used to actually look at it as a reminder, so that when I went and tried to buy a $50 book or $100 book that wasn't that, it was kind of a reminder to me to say, I'm trying to save. I need to not, I don't need this other book that doesn't mean as much to me. So but it definitely crossed my mind, and it was definitely, right after I got it. The special thing about it is I feel like there's only one other book that I really want, and even that I'm okay with like waiting for. I guess now that I think about it, it's probably like 3 other books that I really want. But I feel so completed with this, and especially, and I should say, if anyone doesn't know, we're talking about Giant Size X-Men 1. If between having that and X-Men 1 and having the new and old team, and actually having that in my collection, I think that's what also made getting Giant Size X-Men 1 even more special to me, is because of the fact that I already had X-Men 1.
Sure.
So to really have those two being the biggest X-Men books, I feel very complete. And of course, there's always going to be, I see Rajan, he knew it. I know Daredevil 1 is definitely, on my list, and that's probably been on my list since like a couple of years ago when I really got into comics. That's been on my list, but to me, that's something that I feel I'm okay with, finding a beat up copy down the road, and I'm waiting for the right moment. And then I guess, I've talked about this before, but Wolverine, having his first appearance in Hulk 180, and the fact that it is, fairly reasonably priced right now compared to something like a 181 or something. That's something. But you're right. Ultimately, yes, it's crossed my mind, but I'm not necessarily going after them anytime soon. And I feel great. I feel great with what I have. I feel very accomplished with what I have. I look at it every day, and so that's like, now I'm just trying to decide, like, what do I want to do something with it eventually? Like, it looks so clean that I don't want to have a marker touch it. And John had made a good point that there are very few Giant Size X-Men 1s that are raw now. I feel like, especially at a high grade, you just find so many that are so I mean, that's a PC book, that's a personal collection book for me. So I'm not, I know the prices are insane, and I could probably double my money right now if I wanted to, but that's not what I'm in it for, and that's not why I bought the book to begin with. So I'm just grateful that I was able to buy it at a comfortable, price that I was willing to do. And, luckily it worked out that I did it right before this big bang, and that I didn't have to pay too much of an arm and a leg. But
I'm looking forward to the day when we see your special track lighting that you've installed to showcase it. So
definitely. Yeah. Absolutely. I want to say a quick hello to Comic Book Cannon in the house. What's going on, man? He runs a really good YouTube show that I had no idea about until just recently. So thanks for stopping in, man. I appreciate you. So thank you for that advice. It was really, really great stuff. And I hope that people really take that, and anyone who needs to hear it can hear it.
Yep.
With that being said, I know we're coming right up on the hour, but I do have some fun questions for you. So if you have a little time,
I'm ready.
All right, awesome. And if anybody's watching the replay, please make sure to take a moment to follow Ryan Magic Lasso. I put all his information in the description below, and of course hit that like button along the way.
And thank you to those who have since the show started. I've seen several come through that I got new subscription notices while we've been doing this. So thank you to all of you in the chat who've done that. That means a lot to me.
Very cool. Very cool. Cannon says, absolutely, it's a two-man team with our operation. Heck yeah, man. That's awesome. Love what you're doing. All right, so some fun questions. We'll start it off with this is not really fair because we know the answer to this, but if you had to choose one character, how about this? If you had to choose one character other than Wonder Woman, we'll give you Wonder Woman. You can have Wonder Woman. If you had a second character that's your absolute favorite that you would have, I guess, just included in this description, who would your second character be as your favorite?
If you would have asked me this as a child, I think I would have said Supergirl. And I do like Supergirl a lot, and I'm not denying that. Nice. But as of right now, subject to change, my second favorite character is Scarlet Witch.
Oh, Scarlet Witch. Nice. Well, and I'll tell you, I know you've been doing a lot of the WandaVision reviews and things like that, and you're very knowledgeable on a lot of the things that you've been breaking down. So I'm in a way, I'm not surprised. I see your fandom in it, and I've become more of a Scarlet Witch fan. That's for sure. I mean, I've definitely, and that all thanks to the show. The show. I mean, I liked her in the movies and everything, but it's definitely, and that's what's cool about these shows and these movies. It can really open up more and change our interests. And I know this might be something more recent, and who knows, that might change down the road as we see more new characters. But I think that's a great pick.
Yeah.
All right. Next question is: if you could have one superpower, what would that superpower be?
Good question. I would say I would like. I don't want to call it flight because I have a fear of heights. So I don't know if flight is going to go along with that. But I would like, the best way that I can liken it to, do you remember the Bewitched television show, Samantha, played by Elizabeth Monk? She could snap her fingers and then show up in another spot.
Sure.
I would like to be able to, I guess, maybe teleport, but I don't want no stinky BAMP smell when I do it.
I you get used to it after you're around it for a while,
Well, I don't want to get used to it. So I don't want that reputation going for me.
Yeah.
But I think to be able to transport instantly to another location.
I like it. Yeah, I feel like after all this time, you'd think that Nightcrawler would, get some sort of like fragrance or something that he could kind of leave behind as he does
that.
Yes.
Spray some perfume.
Yeah. Great choice. What is the very most recent comic book that you just read?
I read something last night. What did I read last night? Because I try to at least read a comic book a day. Nice. Last night I read the Batman Beyond. Forgive me, I don't remember the issue number off the top of my head, but it's the first appearance of Batwoman Beyond.
Oh, cool.
And this was an AOK I got from D-Runt Comics. I read that last night.
Nice.
It was very good.
Very nice. And I like that you say that you try to read a book a day. I think that's
at least one.
Yeah, right. I like that.
And if I miss a day, the next day I'll read two.
I like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it all balances out in the wash.
Right. I like it. I need to take that same thinking and apply it to exercise too, but I'm just not there yet.
Yeah. The only thing I've been exercising is caution.
Yes, exactly. Oh, I got to write that one down. I like that.
Full of
them. Yeah. Oh man, I wanted. We might have to tell some dad jokes later. I was like, oh man, this would be a great, little extra segment where we tell some corny dad jokes.
I got the dad jokes going. I'm not a dad. I got the dad bod.
Right. I'm the same way, man. I'm the same way.
If you guys want some free dad jokes from me, tune into Omni X-Men. I usually throw a few out in the course of the show, and usually a reference to the Supremes or Diana Ross.
You are very on fire. Yes, with those references for sure. What's your favorite superhero film? Could be new or old.
Wonder Woman, the first one.
The first one. Okay.
But if we took that out of the mix, I would say X-Men 2.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah. X-Men United. I really like that.
Me too. I like a lot of the older ones. I know some are hit or miss. I know some people feel a certain way about them, but I enjoy them and I could sit down and rewatch most of them. So.
Yeah.
What about who's your favorite, if you had to choose one, who's your favorite artist? We'll say current day.
Oh, current day.
Yeah, we'll say current day.
I do like Travis Moore, who just started on Wonder Woman with this issue. He is really good, and I think that he's going to become my favorite current day artist right now. Jenny Friesen I love. Art Germ I love. I like Patrick Gleason too. I've had a chance to meet all three of those folks too. So
nice, very nice. Ken saying, wish I could keep up with at least one book a day. Yeah, it's definitely a good practice to kind of get into.
Yeah.
For the band,
breeze, yeah.
I don't know if you saw, they just came out with Children of the Atom. The first issue for that just was released this past Wednesday. New X-Men book from like the Hickman series. And there's a new character, or at least new, to my knowledge, is a new character, and his name is Daycrawler.
Oh, really? Well, that's interesting.
And he's a kid. Yeah, he's a kid, and he does the same thing, and he leaves the Banff behind everywhere he goes. And they gave him a really cool little segment in the book where you see him jump from guy to guy to guy to steal their weapons.
Oh, cool! I'll have to check that out.
It's a cool read. I think it's going to be a fun series. But I just appreciated it because the tie-in with Nightcrawler and giving him the Banff thing is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to ask you a couple things one thing. If you could go back in time and buy any one book, I'm going to put this because I know some people have given answers based on the idea that you could sell it later. But let's say you can't sell this book. It's a book you could just buy and own forever, which seems like you're that kind of collector to begin with. If you could go back in time and just buy any one comic book off the rack for cover price, any time era at all, what comic book would you go back to travel to and buy?
All-Star number 8, which is the Golden Age, first appearance of Wonder Woman. She's not even on the cover. She's not part of the Justice Society story. She's an 8-page insert that was decided upon at the very last minute to insert this in here too, because they knew they were going to launch Sensation Comics number 1, which was going to be her first full book. Wow. And at the last minute, they're like, yeah, let's try to introduce her to a wider audience. That's what I would do. But, that covers the 40s. I'm not sure what I'd do for the 50s. For the 60s, I want Brave and the Bold 28, which is the first Justice League team up. Okay. So I love that. For the 70s, GSX1. And the 80s, 50s and 80s, I kind of have to think about. So,
okay.
See, I've even busting it down by the decade.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, man.
Depends on what decade you throw me in. I've got a book for it. I'll find something.
Well, I do hope that they develop that time machine so that you will have that opportunity to do so.
But even as of right now, even Cher can't turn back time. So
there you go. Yeah, I'd buy an AF-15, no doubt. There you go. I mean, if you're a big Spider-Man fan, then that would definitely be a book. Kenneth, hello. Nice to see you. Good choice. There you go. All right. So I want to ask you a couple things, non-comic book related. We'll kind of shift gears a little bit just to know a little bit more about you. So let's start off first with, are you a sports guy? And if you are, what sports do you like and who's your team or teams?
I'm not so much a sports guy as in terms of I follow particular sports and stuff. I do like hockey. I enjoy going to a hockey game. I don't really follow any particular hockey team or any other sport team. But if you do want me to name my favorite sports team, it is the Mandrell AT&T Ringers, which was a charity team that Barbara Mandrell, the singer, had in the 1980s to raise money during Nashville's Fan Fair.
Oh, whoa.
So that's my favorite team.
Nice. All right. I love it. We'll go with it. What about music? Where do you stand with that? What's your favorite genre? And also
country, which I worked in country for the entire time. Okay. I really like just about everything though. It really comes down to the Duke Ellington quote. There's 2 types of music, good and bad. I do find myself drawn to female vocalists of any format the most. I've enjoyed some great concerts from Madonna. Saw Madonna a couple times, and regardless of what you think of her, she knows how to put on a show. I mean, there's so much going on in the show that you're going to enjoy something. To Dolly Parton, to Reba McEntire, to whatever. I never got to see Donna Summer, and that's a huge loss for me. I have seen Diana Ross.
Oh yeah,
just a couple times. So just to let you know, I've been there.
Back it up.
I've stopped in the name of love. So
that's great. I hope John's in here right now.
I hope he is too.
All right. What about if you could go your number one vacation spot, if you could just go anywhere in the world for a week?
I would love to go to Italy, and I'd like to see where they filmed the Themyscira scenes for the Wonder Woman movie with Patty Jenkins did. I know it was in 3 different locations in Italy. I would love to go and see that with my own eyes.
Nice. Very
Yeah,
cool.
it looks like the most beautiful place I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Hi, Kachun.
What's up, Dave? Good to see you, man. Rachel says she does put on a good show. Talking about Madonna. Nice.
Yep.
I have to share this because it just crossed my mind as you mentioned the idea that like Madonna, however you think about her, that she is just a great performer and puts on a great show. I've had the experience of similar, not Madonna, but with Miley Cyrus. Yeah. And seeing, I actually had to go to a concert for work once. I used to be in the audio industry, and we used to sell gear, like high end studio gear, to clients. And we were testing out this new piece of gear that we had. So and my boss at the time, he was very good friends with the sound engineer for Miley Cyrus. I keep wanting to say Miley Cyrus. And and of course, this was at the time where Miley was really getting out of her, doing some crazy stuff, more adult type, shows and things like that. And of course we go, and it's like, millions of young girls and women and just screaming and being, big fans of the show. And me and my boss, who was this 55-year-old, older, very tall, could not miss him kind of guy, and he and I are just like standing, and the engineer invited us and said, you guys need to stay for the show. And at first we were like, no, we're gonna drop the gear and leave. And he like insisted that we stay, and he got us like these ridiculous seats up front and was just like, just stay for the show and listen to how I'm using the products that you gave me or whatever. And we're like, okay. And it turns out she ended up putting on an amazing show. I could not look away. At least that was, I guess you could describe it that way. You could not look away. So you never know sometimes, and you don't want to judge people, by what you hear and things like that.
I haven't met her, but I have met her dad, and he was very nice. Billy Ray was very, very nice.
Yeah. He was the first one. Achy Breaky Heart. That was the very first that my mom, began the brainwashing. That was
the conditioning started with that. And you haven't been the same since Achy Breaky Heart. So
I can't really remember a time before that, really. But that's awesome. Very cool. All right, last question that I have for you is Friday night, house to yourself, and you're just relaxing. What is your go-to dinner meal, whether it's that you're ordering out or you're cooking or you're going out to eat, without a pandemic? What's your go-to meal on a Friday night?
Something Italian, something easy, something Italian. Like I know, because I've heard you say this before. Everyone answers with pizza. That did come to mind. A homemade one would be preferred over even a store-bought. A homemade one. Yeah. I'm a pepperoni, olives, hamburger, or you know what? If you can get me meatballs on my pizza, I'm really happy. Okay. And green peppers. That's my toppings. So, but my favorite dish of all time is called spaghetti pie. It looks like lasagna, but when you cut through it and get to the bottom, it's spaghetti noodles held together with a ricotta cheese. That's my favorite dish of all time. You don't see it very often.
No, I don't think I've ever had that. That sounds really good. And you cook? Do you cook?
Poorly.
Okay.
I actually think that I could be a better cook. I don't have a dishwasher, and that's the problem.
There you go. If
I had a dishwasher, this would be a whole different coat of paint on the barn.
I believe you. I'm right there with you, actually. Yeah. So I got to write that down. Very cool. Very cool. So those are the questions I had.
Awesome.
Ryan, dude, this has been so much fun.
I had a great time. Thank you for asking me to be on here. Thank you for this amazing chat that was so interactive with us. Yes. I saw so many friends. I think I'm going to be making some friends with some new folks too. I have some channels to check out myself, and I'm really excited.
Absolutely, man. Real quick, I always like to give a bit of a platform for my guests. So tell everyone where they can find you, and if you any shows or anything that you have coming up.
Sure. On Instagram, I'm the Magic Lasso. Always feel free to hit me up, but even if you just want to say hi, talk about any type of comic books, I'm cool with that. Or if you see something that's in your collection, or you see something advertised somewhere that you just like, hey, that's a cool cover, show me. I love looking at that stuff. If you have especially if you have a CLZ, have that app and then have your account set to public, where I can just go in and browse what books you have in your collection. I love going through and seeing who has what books in their collection. And I see covers that I didn't know about or forgot. And I go, oh, I need that for mine too. Yeah. I love that. And then on YouTube, Magic Lasso, which, as Justin mentioned, is linked in the description. Hit me up there. Yesterday, I did my top 5 favorite moments of WandaVision. Earlier this week, Ruben Guzman, who was in the chat, earlier. I don't know if he's still here or not. He sent me an AOK and we opened that up. Next week, I have a prize win from Southern Comic Geek that will be on my channel. I need some advice from the comic book community. So I made a video about what I need your help on, and not financial help, just opinion help. So I'm going to drop that next week too. I have some AOKs coming up that will be unboxing some more prize wins, and then just some regular comic book editions. Since, Jim Quinton is here. That's like one of my best friends in life.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I mean, Jim's not a comic book guy. He's a music guy, but I've been friends with him for decades. What a nice surprise. It's Jim. Awesome. It's so nice to see you.
Thanks for hanging out, Jim.
Yeah, thank you. But I have those videos coming up. I have to do some haul videos. I made a list at the beginning of the year of my top 12 goal books for 2021. I've gotten a few of those, but I haven't shown them in a video yet. So I need to get that coming up too. Yeah. So, but please subscribe. I always sub back. I love interacting with everyone. I always try to reply to every comment. I really love the community.
Awesome. He said you might convert him.
Awesome.
There you go.
Yeah. Jim and I have gone to some concerts together too. We've seen some amazing people and some legends in concerts. So we've had a good time. We've also had a good time trying to order donuts at a Dunkin' Donuts that was closed. So
a little bit of a challenge there.
Yeah, it was. We're screaming into the drive-through what we want, and they're not replying.
That's great. Well, it's cool that you're a music guy, and maybe as the pandemic or as the world opens up and becomes safer, we'll have to maybe plan some sort of concert or a trip or something like that.
That'd be awesome.
Really cool. Especially country, because I would love to get back into that. And my last country singer I saw was Chris Stapleton. A year and a half ago, almost 2 years now. He went on that big tour of his or whatever. But very cool, very cool. Any last minute dad jokes that you wanted to share?
Oh my gosh. My default one, and apologies to those who have heard me use this one already, but how does an Ewok get from one place to the other?
How?
Ewoks.
That's pretty straightforward. Yeah, I like it.
That's my default one that I always go to. Nice. You'd be surprised on Tuesday evenings about 5:30, 6 o'clock. I'm like, ooh, Omni X-Men's coming up, and I have nothing to say in my opening in the chat. I got to come up with something.
I look forward to your opening every time because I know there's something there. That's
especially if you see the little emoji, because I'll put the laughing emojis in myself. I'm like, yeah, I'm cracking myself up.
That's what makes it the best. You got to laugh at it. Yeah, exactly. Did you like my Farouk jokes? My
yes,
Amal Farouk, and then I ran out, so Amal out of my. That was great. John was shaking his head. Flash by Night was saying, sorry, I double clicked it. Wait, did I miss country music segment? Yeah, man, you did. You'll have to you'll have to catch the replay. But thanks for hanging out. Oh, there's John there. Comments
Supreme. I get that. I saw what you did there.
Hope everyone has a wonderful night, and your families, members, and friends, and the best of luck to you and your family. Thank you so much, Kenneth. My go-to that I always open up with is if I ask people, or have you ever heard of the pencil joke? And it's pointless. And then I follow it up with, have you ever heard of the mountain joke though? Well, I couldn't get over it. And then what did the mountain say to what did the sun say to the mountain? What? Hey, Cliff.
Oh man.
Write it down, fellas. Write it down. And then you gotta laugh at yourself.
Do you remember an old country music song? It was a duet between it's called Islands in the Stream. Do you know that song? It's Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton singing. Oh, okay. So Islands in the Stream, Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton. It's two of the biggest in the music business. Yeah. And Kenny Rogers sings on it too.
Nice setup. I love it. Those are my favorites.
Comics for Thomas is here. Yay.
Hey, what's up, Comics for Thomas? Thanks for stopping in.
Yeah.
I want to highlight Copy is putting one. He says, here's one for you. Knock, knock.
Okay. Who's there?
He says,
Ahu.
Oh, let me jump down. Bless you.
So I mentioned Jim Quinton's in the chat, and he and I went to the Grand Ole Opry one time, and here's a joke I heard at the Opry, okay? Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Old lady.
Old lady who?
I just taught you to yodel.
I like that. So good, so good.
Yeah.
It's funny, we were talking about country and you bring up the Grand Ole Opry. I just watched, and this is not a setup for a joke, unfortunately, but everyone's like, yeah, where's this going? I just watched Johnny Walk the Line for the first time. You ever see that?
I have. It's very well done.
I had no idea that was what it was. I mean, I've heard things, and I used to work in a music and movie store, and I've seen posters and all that stuff, but never bothered to actually watch it. And I think it really sparked up after we saw the new Joker movie because of Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah, and just hearing his what he's done in that other movie. So my girlfriend and I just watched that. Anyways, just want to share that. It's not a joke in any way.
Did you ever see? Probably, I think. Motion picture wise, country music, probably the best country music motion picture that's not fictional, because Urban Cowboy is actually a pretty good country music movie, but that's all fictional. Did you ever see Coal Miner's Daughter with Sissy Spacek playing Loretta Lynn? That is so good. It's an Academy Award winning movie. Sissy Spacek won the Academy Award for her portrayal, and she does her own singing in it too. It's an old movie from 1980, but it still holds up.
That's a song.
That. Yeah, that's her signature, Loretta Lynn's signature song.
I'm familiar with the title.
But very nice. It starts with her life, when before she ever got famous, and goes up to the height of her fame. So.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah.
Well, cool, man. This has been awesome. Yeah,
I had a great time.
Yeah, dude. Likewise, man. Thank you so much for again being on. Everybody in the chat. Thank you guys for hanging out, especially on Saturday.
Thank you.
I know these are not, they're in the middle of the day on a Saturday, so I appreciate everybody who always comes and swings by. Or if you catch the replay, if you're watching the replay right now, I'm talking to you. Yes, you watching the replay. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. And hopefully you guys know a little bit more now about my friend Ryan here, aka Magic Lasso. Make sure you follow Lasso over on Instagram and on YouTube, as he just named a lot of cool things that's starting to come up. Oh, I did want to say a quick hello to Comics and Culture. I missed you earlier. Good to see you, my friend. So yeah, until next time, I will be back again Saturday, 2:00 Eastern time, as always, and we will talk to you then.
Thanks, Justin.
Later.